Good evening. Greetings from Gainesville, Florida. Yeah, it's me, Frank Fry, the gaming geezer, back again. Just this. Okay, recently, as of like a day or so ago, on RPG Brigade's Facebook page, which I am a very proud member, a lot of good folks, a lot of good stuff on there. People were actually asking about the Doctor Who role-playing game. Now, there has been one that was out in the 1980s by Faza, and I remember playing in that, sort of. I remember the system was overly complex, at least for character generation. It really was a very 1980s game, if you catch my meaning. It was pretty fun. I remember John Ponder ran it, I think, and well, I played it, I think, once or twice, and that was the end of it. But now, well, actually, several years ago, Cubicle 7 Games, the people that brought us the incredibly cool The One Ring, Lord of the Rings, The One Ring game, came out with the Doctor Who game. Now, for those of you who don't know who Doctor Who is, where have you been? Very popular television series from England. 50 years old. Yeah, it's been going on for 50 years and dealing with basically an alien called the Doctor who travels throughout time and space, saving the universe on any number of occasions. Too bad I didn't save my beard. Anyway, the latest iteration came out several years ago with I believe he's the ninth Doctor, David Tennant. Oh, the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, the David Tennant edition. They had one before that, Christopher Eccleston, who only lasted a season, and he decided to go elsewhere. And they brought this out, and I bought it, being a Doctor Who fan from way back. Let me put it to you this way. We're talking was now the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, and I cut my teeth on the 3rd Doctor, John Pertwee. So that gives you some idea of how long I have been watching this show. My family are all fans, big fans. And so, like I said, when the game came out, I bought it. Now, I have since traded in the David Tennant version for the latest one, which is... Hang on, kids. The Matt Smith Doctor Who edition. That's right, Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. Very good one, too. Very interesting character. There are those who say the writing went to hell in a handcart. And they may or may not be right, but that's not my job to get in. Whether or not you think the series was good, bad, or totally indifferent. Let's look at the game. What do you get? Well, box. I know it's really just the front of the box, but it's a heavy box, and it's a lot easier for an old geezer like me just to hold this up and say, well, here it is. And inside this box of stuff, woof, you get, hang on a minute, get these out of here. Let's show you those. We start with Player's Handbook. Yeah, this is your Player's Handbook. Okay, see if I can do this without getting the glow of the screen. Looks like I'm not going to be able to. So, boom, Player's Handbook. Thank you. Well done. Beautifully done. Lots of really excellent inside. Color illustrations with stills from all of the series. Woohoo! Very good, very high quality, and the same thing here with the rather thick Game Master's book. Because if you're going to go running Doctor Who, which is Adventures Through Time and Space, well, the Game Master's book is going to be a little thick. Also, it gives you a good idea of how the game system itself works. Okay. Aside from that, you also get a book of adventures. By the way, I like the cover photo. The Weeping Angels, some of the scariest damn things I've ever seen on television, and they were very chilling. If you see no other Doctor Who episode, and you should, there's plenty of them that are a lot of fun. See one called Blink, which introduces these critters. It's a masterpiece. It really is. And I don't say that very often about a lot of things on television, but it's a masterpiece. For those of you who go back, who like television trivia, who have seen a lot of different things, it's right up there with Chiller production of Pigeons from Hell, the great, God, I'm probably going to make a mistake. I always keep saying Robert E. Howard's story, and I don't think it is. But anyway, Pigeons from Hell is the name of the story. Very scary, very good. So is Blink, and it features these guys, the Weeping Angels. Once you see them, you won't forget them. Okay, enough of that. How does the system work, you ask? Or maybe you don't ask. I don't know. The system is very simple. It uses 2d6. That's right. You have the attribute. You have an attribute plus skill plus a trait, if you have one that can add, plus 2 6-sided dice, and you try to match or beat the difficulty of the task. That's it. That is it. You can also use story points. Oh, they do levels of success, which are like, go all the way from 9 above the difficulty, which is fantastic, all the way to 9 or below, which is disastrous. So, and they have in here things how you use the story points. Okay. It's really, really good. Character generation is easy, relatively speaking. You simply toad up your, you have X amount of points to spend. You pick from a menu. You pick from different options. We'll get into that later. You could even play a Time Lord. Yeah, they've got that in there. You could play a Time Lord, which I think is fantastic, but it's sort of like the problem, say, with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, i.e., who's going to be the Slayer? In other words, who's going to be the big kahuna? Anyway, very good. You also get pre-gen characters, some of whom are iconic, like one of my favorites, River Song. And you get some that are just sort of stereotypical. For example, rock star. Yeah, you could be a companion and a rock star. You're a rock star who gets caught up in all of this. Or you can just take a blank one and roll your own. So I like about this game, it's very open, very flexible. You can get all kinds of wonderful combinations. Interesting. The other interesting part of this game, I think, the game has lots of interesting parts, but this is the very interesting one. And this is the action sequence. Who takes actions? And everybody gets to take their action, but it's the order in which they're taken that really, I think, reflects the basic ethos of the show. So, in order, people who want to, give you an action. Talkers, any people who are just going to speak Now's the time. This is the first group of people that could take an action. Now, how often, for those of you that have watched the show, we see the doctor go, "Oh, wait a moment. Would you like a jelly baby? Would you like a jammy dodger?" I've had them. They're pretty good. He tries to, no, you don't want to do that type thing. That's what you get to do. The second group that could take an action are runners. People who are just moving. Here's when they go. A lot of times, you're just moving to get out of the way of the big, ugly killer brute. Discretion in this case being very definitely the better part of valor. In that respect, it's sort of like Call of Cthulhu, except, of course, the first thing you do is run in Call of Cthulhu. In the words of the Theron Marx Society's motto, "Run, you fools, run!" But it lets you get out of the way of the big ugly. The third one are the doers, and these are non-combat actions. People are fixing something, and or they're doing something that's not combat. And finally, the last to go are the fighters, the ones who want to initiate combat action. Now you think about that. Talkers go first. So if you want to talk your way out of the situation with the bloodthirsty mercenaries from the planet Zantac or whatever, you have the opportunity to do that. This game actually stresses nonviolent solutions. That the first thing you don't do is grab a gun and start blasting. And I like it. And I like it for that reason. Well, that's one of the reasons. It accurately reflects the show and the ethos of the Doctor, if you will. It's very good. It's a beautiful production, filled with lots of wonderful extras, character sheets, and a basic on how to play. Gives you the idea of the thing about the game. Okay, next, you get dice, which mine are stashed away in my magic box of big dice, but you get some very nice crystal clear dice with the blue pips on them. They look cool. You get story points, which are another thing you have that you can use to bend the story in your direction, and you also get equipment cards. And you spend your story points for those. You start with, say, 12 story points. You would spend 2 story points for an engram eraser, engineer's mate, you name it. There's all sorts of things here. Most of these are like 2 story points. You have a vortex manipulator, which is like a wrist mounted TARDIS. But that's 7 story points if you want to invest that much in there. And at least in mine, you need to come up with a very good story as to why you have one. Itchy nose. So that is the basic books. You get all of this material. It's some nice looking character sheets. You get them all at a reasonable price. And let me see if I can find that reasonable price. $60. Yeah, you're going to go, what? $60? Well, you can also get these separately on Drive-Thru RPG. You can get the PDF, which I would recommend if you don't only want to get into running it, but would you like to play it, pick up the PDF and enjoy. Now, for those of you who want to run this and are really interested also in say, the background of a lot of the Doctor Who universe, I have 2 more items, 2 more things that you may like that I recommend. The first one, Doctor Who, the Unit Source Book, Defending the Earth. Now, this concentrates on an outfit called Unit, which was pretty much a product of the Third and Fourth Doctor era. Stands for United Nations Intelligence Task Force. That's what it was originally. This is a very good book if you want to do adventures here on Earth involving people, agents of Unit, people that are in effect in the know. They know about the Time Lords, they know about this, that, and the other, about a lot of the threats. If you want to make a companion that's a Unit operative to go with the Time Lord, this is the thing. Got a lot of good information, good history in here, and backgrounding, very thorough. And it is $35. Manufacturer's suggested retail price, but again, flinch at the idea of putting out that kind of money. PDFs available at drive-thru. And finally, one of the I think, best supplement yet, and one that I really, really think if it were available, which it wasn't when I first bought the core game, I would have bought it right then and there, because the Time Traveler, Doctor Who, the Time Traveler's Companion. Everything you ever wanted to know about their homeworld of Gallifrey, Time Lord Society, Time Lord history, some of which is pretty sordid. Background out the wazoo. There are a wealth of bad guys in here. We're talking serious big bads. Other Time Lords. Bad guy Time Lords, the most famous and well-known of which is the Master. But they got some more in here. They also have a complete section in here on the TARDIS, which is what Doctor Who flies around space in. The TARDIS. Time and relative dimensions in space. Yeah, I know. But it works. Anyway, the Doctor's, remember, is the one that looks like the little blue police call box. Now, if you do your own Time Lord, what's your TARDIS going to look like? Well, this has it all in here. Everything you need to design and diagram your own TARDIS if you want to get into that level. And it is really a lot of fun. My child, actually, she's my adult daughter, loves this game, and she is playing the Time Lord in the current campaign that I'm running, which is kind of an occasional one. They live 2 hours away in Tampa, but she plays a character called Max, who is basically a TARDIS mechanic. He's a Time Lord, but he's one of the ones that's out there fixing all the stuff. TARDIS isn't working properly? Well, all right. And he was also refurbishing an old TARDIS, getting it back up to running when the campaign started and they were kind of pressed into service. And that's when they also discovered, Max did, that, well, the chameleon circuit was a little wanky. That is the device that will camouflage the TARDIS to make it fit in. Unfortunately, in their first outing, the chameleon circuit got a little wanky and the TARDIS wound up looking like a medieval outhouse, which led to all sorts of funny scenes. It's hilarious. We had a very, very good time playing this game. Yes, we did. And I recommend this to everybody who is a fan of Doctor Who. If you haven't gotten the Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space role-playing game yet, why haven't you? The other good part I would like to emphasizes this is a great convention game to run. Most franchise games are, and I say franchise or genre, meaning RPGs that are built around already known intellectual properties, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Army of Darkness, I happen to have that RPG. A lot of fun, and I think it's going to make a major comeback now that there's a television series coming out. But these are what I would call gateways. People who maybe have not played an RPG before, and maybe they're not exactly like, I'm not real sure about that Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but I'm a fan of Doctor Who. Well, here, play Doctor Who. You get them into the hobby that way. Same thing with Buffy. Same thing with Army of Darkness. Goes all the way down. Star Wars is another one. So that's the wonderful thing about Doctor Who. And in truth, Doctor Who began as a kids show. And this could be a very family-friendly RPG, especially if your whole family enjoys Doctor Who as much as mine does. Okay, everybody, that's it for now. Y'all take care, and hope you have a pleasant evening. And we'll see you later. This is Frank Fry, the Gaming Geezer, saying, have fun, play games!